Hello. One of the best known of Jesus' miracles is that of feeding the 5,000 using just 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Little children always remember this story. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 14, verse 19 says, "Then he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitude." Now, this miracle must have seemed very important to the writers of the Gospels, as it is the only one of Jesus' miracles which is reported in all 4 Gospels, in Matthew 14, Mark 6, Luke 9, and John 12. Now, the reading of this miracle takes me back over 40 years, when I spent 3 months in Israel working on a kibbutz. One weekend, 5 of us, all Christians, took a trip to the Sea of Galilee by bus. We arrived at the town of Tiberias and stayed the night in the youth hostel, and the next morning we got a taxi down to Capernaum on the shores of the lake where Jesus once preached in the synagogue. As it was a nice day, we decided to walk the several miles back to Tiberias. It was an uphill and winding road, and the temperature was very high. Although we had unwisely drunk lots of Coca-Cola in Capernaum, we had rather stupidly set off without any water with us at all. We started to get very thirsty, and after a while we were in danger of serious dehydration. All of a sudden we saw a small church just off the road, and we went and knocked on the door of the house by the church. The door was answered by an elderly Dominican friar who was very friendly. He was especially pleased that we were walking and not riding in a vehicle. We told him our problem, and he immediately produced and gave us a large water carrier full of ice-cold water, which we readily consumed. It turns out that the church was in a place called Takbar, and the friar explained to us that it is traditionally accepted as the place of the miracle of the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, and also of the 4th post-resurrection appearance of Jesus after his crucifixion. I've just got a picture to show, an up-to-date picture to show you this, and you can see the Church of Takbar there, right on the shores of the Lake of Galilee. So that's where we were. The friar explained to us in English, but to be honest, we were so dehydrated that I think we were more grateful for the gift of his water rather than we were listening to what he was saying and reflecting on the importance of the place we had been sitting. It got me thinking about the people who were listening to Jesus. Did they understand who he was and what he had done in the miracle he had performed? Or were they so hungry that they only wanted to get some food to eat in the same way as we were desperate to get hold of the water? Now, the Gospel shows some slight differences here. If you read the account of this miracle in the 4 Gospels, you'll find it in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They are silent about the crowd recognizing what Jesus had done, the miracle he had performed, and who he was. It is only in St. John's Gospel that we read these words. "When the people saw the sign that he had done, they began to say, 'This is indeed the prophet who is to come into the world.'" Now, one explanation for this is that while some of the crowd had recognized who Jesus was and what he had done, others were so hungry and so keen to get hold of the food that they didn't even think about it. This reminded me that 2,000 years later, we were so thirsty and so desperate to get the water that we failed to listen to what the friar was telling us about the importance of Takbar and what had taken place there. Subsequently, we had huge regrets that we had not made better use of our time at Takbar and reflected on its importance. We can drink water at any time, but we may never visit Galilee again. Isn't it often the case that we get distracted by everyday events and pressures, and we frequently forget the gifts God lavishes on us all day and every day?